Okay. Well, if we get one for the guns, we'll get that petition as well. But the petition I'm talking about is going to repeal that tax so that we can, well, alleviate some of the burden on the taxpayer. And I don't know if you guys have heard about that. I'm getting a lot of feedback, Chris. Are you guys? All right. How about now? Can you hear me now? All right, you guys gonna have to quiet down. Excuse me, Elmer, can I get your attention? Elmer, hold on, man. All right, so we have a petition that's gonna be coming out soon. We have very little time to get that to get the signatures needed to put it on the ballot. If we don't get it on the ballot and the voters don't kill, I believe it's HB 3291. I'm not sure what the number is on that, but if we don't kill that bill, we're going to have higher gas prices. We're going to have higher fees, and they're going to have the ability to raise those taxes anytime because the authority has been given to the Department of Transportation. I feel like I'm in a baseball field. Yeah. So I'm going to shut off this mic because I'm going to talk about this a little bit later and see if we can fix this because this reverb just sucks. Sorry.
We need to key on the governor.
Say what?
We need to key on the governor.
Testing.
Yeah.
How do I? Okay. Get those signatures.
Turn your microphone on.
My volume is off.
No, it's not. I can hear.
Hold on.
Let me turn these off while we're not used.
Like I know how to work my phone. And I want to thank you all for coming tonight. My name's Rob Taylor. I do the Rob Taylor Report. You can catch me on Rumble, YouTube. And if you tune out on Friday nights, I apologize for the cussing and the drinking. I don't really apologize. I just, beware. We do that. I try to stick to the news on Mondays, and we will, we'll be doing a lot more on social media if we get this set up, and we're going to have this for a while. I don't know how long we're going to have it. This is a temporary thing. And so if it goes any further than for a couple of weeks, I'll be happy. The person who owns this, they were nice enough to let us use it until they rent it out. And $2,500 a month. Yeah. So, and kind of what I was thinking, but think about what he is gifted us to do this, and that's thank you very much. And so we're asking people to, anything that you want to help us build this party, help us in the headquarters, because if we don't have it here, we're going to have it some other place. We have found some other places that were pretty affordable. And the reason we need it, especially during wintertime and for when the campaigns come up, is like I said, it's really hard to get signatures on pieces of paper in the rain. It's hard enough to ask people for their signatures on a good day, but to ask them for their signatures in the rain is just, well, it's really a difficult job. And it's a thankless job. And even if you win it on the ballot, people are never going to be appreciative of it. But we appreciate it. And we're looking for people who are willing to do those types of things that are thankless but have to be done because our legislature has screwed us. So that petition is supposed to come out in November between 12th and the 15th. The governor, the same governor that's complaining that Donald Trump is destroying democracy, will not sign the bill so that the voters can vote on it. I never understand why it's okay for one side but not the other to make those type of obstructive decisions. I think both of them are wrong when they don't allow the people to make the vote to decide those decisions. So November 12th to the 15th, we'll get them. And I think we have 30 days after that because she has 30 days to sign it after it was passed by the legislature. And then we were supposed to get 60 days if she would have signed it, but she didn't sign it. And so we get 30. And I think we got about 150 legitimate signatures we have to get, and around about 100, and this is just estimating, but we're gonna have to get about 180,000 to 200,000 signatures because you know how they kick out a lot of signatures. So we're going to be having to move really fast. That's 30 days. I was on a phone call with 400 volunteers statewide, which was really cool to see people that have been fighting with each other for a while politically, put down that nonsense for just a few minutes and come together in this phone call and agree to work together. And we have agreed to work together with anyone on this nonpartisan initiative. It's actually would be called a referendum because they're repealing something. An initiative is when you create law. A referendum is when you get rid of bad law. So we're getting rid of this bad law. And hopefully, and of course, we're going to have to use vote by mail to do it. So, what can I tell you? But if we do get it passed, the referendum passed on the ballot, we will kill this bill. And that's what we're going for, hopefully by November in 12th, 15th, I don't know, somewhere around there, the first couple of weeks in November. I don't have specific dates, and it doesn't matter, and don't even bother asking people, how many signatures have you collected? This is a 400 to 1,000 man volunteer team, and there's no way of knowing how many signatures you collect when you're in the trenches. You know what I mean? It's like asking a soldier, how many bullets have you taken? We don't know. We're just collecting as many as we can. And so we're going to hopefully work on that. And anyone who wants to volunteer, you can get in contact with me. There's a gentleman who is in contact with the chief petitioners. He's not involved with politics. Like I said, they wanted someone as nonpartisan as they could get. And he called me up and says, you're probably one of the few people who's actually ever done this. And I said, yeah, I've done a few of them. I'm doing a couple of now. And so I'm helping him with the team he's developed. And there's probably about 40 people in Coos County right now who are on that phone call. Were you on that phone call, by the way, Amy?
No.
I just figured you would be. You're so diligent about that. And by the way, this is Amy Colton, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this lady went out on her own, and what did you drop off? What is about 14 sheets to me?
Yeah.
It was very cool. That was the recall governor and some of the end vote by mail. But that's just cool when someone takes their initiative, go out there and get those signatures, and then you can turn in those sheets. And when you get a stack like that, it's a very powerful feeling to know that these people have trusted you enough to get these signatures down the line. And I know people have had bad experiences gathering signatures, and there's been a few recalls that have failed and were just bogus. But there have been a lot of good initiatives and referendums that we've won on. So we can win it if we overwhelm it, and we got to beat the cheat. Is Richard here yet?
Haven't seen him. But what I was going to say is that on the day where she brought us over 140 signatures. Okay. So anyway, on the day, yeah, let's hold it over here. But anyway, I figured I figured Rob's mic would have picked me up, but anyway.
That's all right. You're okay.
All right. Anyway, on the day that she turned in 14 sheets, over 140 signatures, that was the day that Rob and I were working the Best Western, and in 4 hours we picked up 300 and change. So for the whole day, we got almost 500 signatures between the three of us, and that was in one day and a couple hours worth. So it's not like this is not an insurmountable task. This is something that we can do. We just have to all get organized and all be rowing in the same direction, so to speak. And that's all I had to say, but okay.
Sorry, he asked me to film the speaker.
We're doing dual duty here. We've got people in the room, obviously, but then we have people online that are watching. So we're trying to incorporate people who couldn't make it in person, and people want to watch it later. Some people are working right now, so they want to watch it tomorrow. So we're waiting on one more candidate. We've got one online. She's waiting, Brandy Martindale. And then we have Rick Coleman, who's running late from work. He's a working man. What can we say? So appreciate everybody being here.
Thank you.
Want to do what I've been doing the past couple meetings is raise your hand if you're an elected official.
What do you call an elected official?
Well, I guess PCP counts too. So yeah, raise your hand if you're a PCP or any other type of elected official. Sweet. So I'm going to go around the room. We've got Carol Yardley here. If anybody's interested in running for this school board, we've got North Bend school board member, and who else do we have? Cheryl, PCP. Carol also doubles as a PCP. Cheryl's a PCP. Diane's a PCP. Jim and Virginia and Ron and Elmer and soon to be Doug and Jeff in the back and soon to be Marshall and an elected official. What are you? CCAT, yes, Transportation Board. So full county-wide. Doesn't it extend beyond Coos, or is it just Coos County? Florence, all the way up to Florence. Cool. Elected official.
Yeah.
PCP, Glenn, yep. PCP and Shelly and I'm forgetting Todd. Trying to be PCPs and a couple other people. I think just, neighborhood. Empire, we've got North Bend, we've got Coos Bay downtown, out in like, is it not Green Acres? What would it be?
What's the update on that?
We'll get into that later. I'm stalling. We're trying to wait for Rick to get here. Yeah, we got East Side and Green Acres represented, Isthmus Heights. So lots of places in Coos County. Rick is from Hauser, so that's cool. Does anybody have any questions for us while we're waiting for the candidates? No.
No questions at all.
What's that? So let me explain what this is. So there's a Coos County Republican Party, and that's an official thing. It's ruled by ORS and the state Republican Party, but the county party is pretty independent. But it's tied in with elections. So this upcoming May, you can run to be a PCP, and you can then be a voting member of the Republican Party. That is not this. This is something we have had to set up separate from adjacent to the Republican Party because they're no longer having meetings. So as far as I know, it's been 3 months, no meetings. I would encourage people to reach out to the chair of the Coos County Republican Party. His name is Michael Brainard, and he might have more information on that. But we weren't having meetings, we weren't having events, we weren't having even executive board meetings, we weren't doing any sort of organizing for the upcoming election. So we decided, instead of waiting and sitting on our hands, we got this headquarters going. We got a PAC set up so we can accept money and then give it to the candidates and organize around them, and do tons of other stuff, have meetings, have events. We'd like to start doing weekly stuff here, whether it's a little coffee in the morning or a happy hour in the evening, something like that. We'd like to start having more events. So that's what this is, and it's called Friends of Coos County Republicans. The idea is to support the Republican Party, and once they're back up and running the way they should be, we would just merge right into them, and it's not supposed to be in conflict. It's supposed to be adjacent and supplemental. Partnership, yeah. I mean, it's not much of a partnership right now. We're kind of in an awkward state. I'm the vice chair of the actual Coos County Republican Party. I have no way of contacting the chair. I've been blocked on every social media. I cannot text him. He doesn't respond to my emails. It's pretty unfortunate, but I really don't want to get into that. The whole point of this is to be a candidate forum for our two candidates, but we unfortunately are waiting for one to show up from work, which is a good thing that he works. So he'll get here
And
soon.
where's Brandy?
Brandy's waiting online very patiently,
Oh,
and
well,
she had surgery, so I think she's going to be just by audio. But
okay.
And what are your plans for use of this room then?
really, come to me with your plans,
Okay.
or come to any of us. If you have an idea and you want to use it, we'd love to help you see that happen. So if you have an event that you want to have, or if you just want to have meeting space, like if you're a candidate running for office and you need a place to meet somebody or have an event, have a fundraiser, this should be available to you. That's the idea of it. I have some ideas of my own. I'd like to have like a Saturday morning coffee. Like everyone in this room and beyond should know that like every Saturday morning from like 8 to noon, I'm going to be here with coffee and talking with conservatives, talking about everything conservative and how we can make Coos County more conservative again. And that's what I'm all about. But if you guys have ideas, we're all ears. We're a loosely connected group of people, and we'd like to help.
And the man of the hour is showing up.
Yes, I can stop stalling. I hate this. No, Rick, you're on right away. So this is Rick Coleman in the back. Everybody give a round of applause for Rick. Just got off work and he's ready to go. All right. You just need to turn these on.
Yeah, I turned this off.
And can I say something about Rick before he gets started? I want everyone to know that this man is a working man. He's got a really tough job. I'm sure he was doing incredible stuff today because that's the kind of job he has. I don't even have to ask him what he's been doing. It was probably really something that you could film and put on YouTube and people would buy it up. I don't know why you're not doing that, but I know 3H, he's really good at that. I think we got a question back here.
Before we get officially started, can we start with the pledge?
Yes.
A pledge and a prayer, please.
All right, everybody, let's do the pledge and the prayer. And which flag should we go to? We'll go to the flag in the square. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball. Okay, so I would like to offer up a prayer because that's not my thing. There you go. It's for people online.
Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this gathering of like-minded people, Lord, that we want to try and preserve this nation for what it was founded for and for the rights of the people. And Lord, help us in our tasks that we're putting our hands to, and help us to vote, nominate, or whatever we need to do, Lord, that you would put the right people in offices and bless the hands and feet that are helping them. I thank you in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, let me go ahead and grab that microphone. Thank you.
I know a lot of people are shy, I'm not shy.
I'll leave that one here. Turn it up.
Hey, Brandy, can we just do a mic check to make sure we can hear you online?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
It's good. A little louder if possible.
Yeah, sure. I'll try to speak up.
Thank you.
Yeah, see if we can hear you.
And
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can we have the names of these people?
Well, I was gonna go ahead and do that, but let's see if we can hear you on the microphone first.
Hold
Yeah.
on, get you-
Echoey.
Yeah, I know. but It's mostly for online.
I turned the speakers down, but still use the mic.
Okay. So he mostly wants to do it for online. He's gonna turn the speakers down, so we're not getting as much of that, hopefully.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
So let's do that, because with the room this small, I don't think we need the speakers as much as we've been using them, so. Let's move on. So anyway, Rick, let's see if we can hear you on the microphone. So Chris, can you hear Rick on the microphone?
It's not
Hello?
me, it's Brandy.
Okay, well, I was asking him, so did you get Brandy working?
Yes, Brandy can hear everybody and we're good to go.
Okay, so we're all good to go. So let's go ahead and get this started. I'm your moderator for some reason other than the fact that they wanted me here. So on your screen here, we have Brandy Martindale, and she is running for the Coos County Commissioner position against John Sweet. And then here at the table, we have Rick Coleman, who is also running for Coos County Commissioner, and he's running against Rick Osborne, who is a Democrat. So we're going to have a forum here where we will ask questions, and if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll see about getting out there and getting those questions out so that not only can people in the room hear it, but we're also doing this for the people online because we're recording it. So if people want to watch this because they're working now or they have some other reason why they can't watch it now, then they can watch it later. So that's kind of what we're up to right now.
Are they both running for the same position?
No, they're not. So there's two commissioner seats open, and so one of them is running, Brandy's running against John Sweet, and Rick is running for Bob Taylor's whole spot. So we've got two people running. Bob's has not filed to run again. And last I talked to him, he said he wanted to be one and done anyway. So we've got Rick Coleman and Rick Osborne. So we'll just go Coleman and Osborne. Coleman good, Osborne not Coleman. So that's the nicest way I can put it, I believe.
And Rick's last name again?
Coleman. So it's what, C-O-L-E-M-A-N?
Yep, just like the camping equipment.
There we go. So if you need camping equipment, talk to him. All right, so I guess we're going to try to keep the responses down to 2 minutes because that way we're not going to be going forever. So let me get this thing set. Set 2 minutes. Here we go. So Brandy, I guess I'll start with you. And basically, the opening question is going to be mostly along the lines of, how is it that you got to where you decided running for office was a thing you wanted to do? I mean, were you politically motivated at all times, or did you like come into it and go, no, somebody needs to run for office, and I think that somebody is me? So can you address that?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Marty. I got involved in politics in New York City in 2000. Oh, it would have been about 2011. I believe I had joined a nonpartisan political organization, an independent political organization called this a little bit of a mouthful, Independent Party of New York, Queens chapter. I was an executive committee member. From there, I did work with independentvoting.org, who did just what you guys are doing here. They were a little bit outside of the two-party system. Although you guys are working on building up the Republican Party, they did exactly what you guys are doing. They wanted to build up candidates regardless of their party affiliation necessarily, but really on the person and the platform. And so that was where I initially cut my teeth. I was a systems analyst. And as I'd mentioned, an executive committee member. I got to do some really great work in Washington, D.C., present some of my research to the president's election on President's Commission on Election Administration. So that was a great experience. Moved back over here to the West Coast in 2013, working as an organizational consultant, and didn't really have much interest in getting back into politics. It just wasn't where I saw myself needed until I moved back home, and some local crime that was happening in my neighborhood. We kept hitting a brick wall. And the deeper I dug into solutions, the more I realized that we can't rely on someone else to come in and fix our community's problems. If we want to live in a better community, we as individuals actually have to step up and build that community from the grassroots up. And that was my motivation, because I do live in the county. My opportunities to serve are limited to the county. So I can't join a lot of boards. I can't, run for mayor, things like that. And so commissioner was a good option for me. Looking into the commissioner's roles and duties, it was a really good alignment with my resume and what my previous past experience and my education. So I thought, John is, although he has put his hat in the race, he's had a good run at commissioner. And so it seemed like the appropriate time to come in and actually say, hey, I think I'll try to be some of the change that I'd like to see. And here we are today.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. We ran a little bit over, but that's okay. I'm not going to be a super taskmaster on keeping everything at 2. It's just, the idea is if we set it to 2 and it goes for 3 or 4, we're fine. But if we don't set a time limit, then somebody will go, so, 30 minutes later, we're gone.
Feel free to cut me off if you need to. Yeah.
I'll do like this. I'll go, okay, time is up.
Perfect.
I can just lean over and hit Rick over here. So anyway, same question to you. I mean, did you, were you politically motivated? Did you say, oh, I really need to get in there and be a county commissioner, or were you just kind of going, somebody's got to do it? So get us to that point. How did you get here? Besides driving it.
I've never been one to really be into politics. It's been later in my life, I've kind of been paying more attention, and has more to do with the path our country's been on that I don't really like. And I feel like the way to change that is to get involved. And I think it begins at the smaller community county levels. So that's what's motivated me to try to get involved. I don't think our county necessarily is headed in the right direction. I think their priorities are a little backwards from what I would like to see them. And so decided, well, we got some openings coming up this election, and I'd throw my name out there and see if I can get in and try to make some change.
All right, sounds good to me. I think we may need to turn. You have both your phones making noise. I think I hear an echo. Okay, so we're getting a little echo from that phone there. Okay, well, that's good, as long as it's not bugging everybody. So. Yeah, and as you can tell, I've done a lot of moderation work. So if it looks like I'm horrible at this, well, it's because I am. Oh yeah, and well, thank you. As long as you set the bar really low, this will be fine.
Just for context, we set this up in the past 3 days.
Yeah.
So that's not an excuse. We're doing this poor job, but we'll get better. We'll have more.
Yeah, this went from start to finish this went from a beginning of, we should really try to get a permanent space where we can have meetings and such, to getting the space, getting the furniture, getting the stuff, putting it all together. And it was like, and our deadline is Thursday at 6. So we got pretty much everything done at 5:45-ish. So,
And it's not easy to get insurance.
yeah, insurance was the big one. And then, of course, for the people in the audience, and I keep seeing myself on screen going, oh, I feel so sorry for the people in the audience. But the people in the audience online, if you would like to ask a question, you can do it on the chats. And then what will happen is Chris will pass it over to me so that I can ask the candidates. And then also in the room, if you'd like to ask a question, say like Ron just asked, raised his hand. Raise your hand and we will come to you with a microphone. So is this the microphone that I should carry out there?
Rob.
Oh, Rob's got it.
Are you ready with the question, Rob?
Yeah, I just had a question for both of them.
Hold on.
Wait till Rob gets to you with the
Wait
mic.
till Rob gets there.
There you go.
And I've only known you as Richard, but now you're going by Rick, so that's a little different. But you have a full-time job. How does this affect working as a commissioner? Are you getting close to retirement, or how are you going to work that?
Well, that part's probably going to be a little bit of a work in progress. I'm hoping to continue my job where I'm at,
I see.
as well as work at the county to do what I can down there.
Okay, that was, and for Brandy, I was wondering if she has a job, or is this going to be a full-time thing for you that you're looking for?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I do work full-time. I am a certified life and health coach, and have worked in the past as an executive development professional. I will be working full-time as a commissioner. While granted, I will probably be doing a lot of coaching in my role, one of my main goals is to develop political leadership in this community. So to get the electorate more involved. So while I will be doing my profession, so to speak, as a coach in that role, I will be, a minimum of 40 hours a week. I would be transitioned into no longer taking clients and working full-time for the county.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. But I see a hand up in the back. So Rob is heading to the back of the room to ask another question.
Yeah, my question is, if elected, do you take on the same liaison assignments as the guys holding office right now?
Great question. I can take that one, Rick, if you'd like.
Yeah. So Brandy, go ahead. You go first this time, Brandy, and then we'll have Rick do the follow-up.
Yeah, so that is, the liaison positions are typically changed through election. The commissioners kind of divvy up who is going to work on what. As new commissioners come in, those liaison duties are typically reshuffled around. And while each commissioner does have their specific departments that they liaise to, the commissioners really do collaborate and work together on solving the county's problems. So each commissioner does need to be well versed into a little bit of how the liaison works with each department, even if it's not theirs, but those are interchangeable.
Roger that. Yeah. And the second part of that question is, what liaison assignments would you like to throw your name in the hat for?
Personally, I would love to work with the sheriff's department. I really have a soft spot in my heart for being hard on crime. I've had a lot of really great conversations with Gabe, and he's really excited about some potential solutions to our local problems. So the sheriff's department is a big one that I would love to be working with, definitely.
Thank you, Brandy.
Okay, and then we'll go with same question to Rick here. And, you know, if you have anything that you'd like to, you know.
Anything, I mean, I don't know what all the liaison positions are, you know, what all the commissioners, how it's broke down and who works with what. I'm willing to take on anything assigned to me and work with those departments to the best of my ability.
Thanks, Rick. All right, do we have any more questions from the room? Wait, there we go.
You mentioned that there were changes that you wanted to see.
Yeah, hold on for, I think Rob needs to snag the mic from the back, or you. Oh, you got a mic? Okay, go ahead then, sorry.
Rick, you mentioned that there were some changes that you'd like to see. What kind of changes and what kind of projects?
One of the,
What are your goals if you did get in there?
my number one goal is public safety. I think public safety in our county's been put on the back burner. I understand where they get funding. It comes out of the general fund for the sheriff's department and the jail. I think we could do better. Instead of funding some of the other offices that also come out of that fund. I really believe the sheriff's office and the jail should be our top two priorities. How else are we going to keep people safe in the community? And I know, I mean, me personally, I see a lot of stuff going on. I watch what's going on online and you know, the catch and release policy just doesn't work. But I also understand the other side of that. If we don't have the jail space to hold these people, what else can the sheriff do? Their hands are tied somewhat, but I also think there's some other avenues that could be taken by the law enforcement in our community. You know, I had a sheriff tell me, you know why they don't cite some of these people? They can't get money out of them. They can get money out of you and I. Well, there's other things they could do to these people to possibly curtail their ideas of you know, being a criminal.
And the same question goes to Brandy.
Thank you so much for the question. Will you, I was really tuned into Rick. Will you re-ask the question?
Okay, he expressed that there were some things that he thought needed to be changed in the county and stuff that needed to be worked on. And that was kind of the driver that he was going on for getting this position. Are there changes and different corrective issues that you needed to work on?
Excellent. Yes. Thank you so much for the question. One of the primary solutions I would like to pursue to all of our problems is going to be better communication between our electorate and our elected officials. We are not taking full advantage of free options to communicate. So things like lines getting redrawn, the streets being redrawn, those changes could have been communicated to the public way sooner. And in it, you know, we could have been given maps. Here's what to expect. But there's a breakdown in communication. I am also very focused on public safety initiatives. The specific mechanisms to achieve greater public safety are complicated and in the works. Believe it or not, we run up against a lot of constitutional barriers to decreasing crime. Sounds ironic, but it's what we're finding. And so I think through that communication, the main change is going to be turning to our electorate and saying, what kind of solutions do you have in mind? And bringing our public more into that conversation so that the people feel heard and that the solutions that we do develop are not top down, like me coming in and deciding I know what's best, but rather more organic and developed kind of collaboratively by the community. So that is one area that I would like to shift the needle.
It's nice to hear that because we've had public meetings before and the room was standing room only and people waiting outside. And people were expressing that it was supposed to have been a think tank, but instead it was, they just heard everybody and walked away with nothing. And that's the way that it went at that meeting. And that was over the homelessness and the crime. The people just, they opened the room up, but the people weren't heard. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. And speaking of getting the community involved, we actually have a question from online, and this is from 3H Tree Service. And I am going to ask Rick this question first, and then Brandy, you can, I'll ask you next. And so 3H Tree Service says, timber is a huge resource in Coos County. What do you think you can do as commissioner to bring mills and the logging infrastructure back to Coos County? So Rick, take it away.
That's a tough one.
If anything. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's a tough one. I'm not sure exactly what all at the county level we could do. We could. I know the county has timber holdings a little bit. They can find a way to access that resource better. As far as getting more lumber companies interested in our area again, I'm not sure what we can do there. I don't know how to make that better. We would have to fight with the state quite a bit on that one, I believe. Look what they've done with, they took our largest one away from us, the Elliott. And that's what it was set aside for, was timber harvest to help the communities. It was never supposed to be taken away, and somehow they managed. It would be a lot of battling with the state. There would be, I know there's some tribal interests, timber holdings and things we could probably work out with some of the tribes. And, try to make it as trying to think of the word. Anyway, make it where some of these people want to come back. We used to have, I grew up here. My dad worked for Bohemia, ran the mill out in Lakeside. He was there for 30 years. So I'd love to see that stuff come back, and anything I could do. It's going to involve some research on my part. I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I'm willing to put in the effort and see what we can do to get them back.
All right, fair enough. So, Brandy, the same question over to you, and whenever you're ready to go.
Yeah, and thank you for the question. It is a very difficult question, so thank you. You're probably not going to like my answer. Hopefully you appreciate my honesty. I don't know that there is realistically much in the power of a commissioner to bring logging infrastructure and mills back to Coos County. I say this as a daughter of a logger. My father is now disabled from a lifelong career in the logging industry. The jobs are brutal. They're physically very, very taxing on the body. They're dangerous and at times lethal. Insurance is becoming more expensive to cover logging outfits. As far as bringing the infrastructure back, if Roseburg Forest Products is downsizing over in Drain, I think is their not Winston. I want to say it's their Drain plant over there by Roseburg. If the executives of Roseburg Lumber can't figure it out, I am not going to sit here and pretend that I have answers to that question. I think we have a labor deficit. I don't know that we have the manpower, the physical bodies that are willing to do those jobs. I don't see anyone moving back to Coos County to become a logger. So that's definitely it's not a draw. So while I agree that our timber is a huge resource, I see insurmountable roadblocks in several areas to bringing that industry back to Coos County, is my honest answer.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And you did it in 1 minute and 58 seconds. Nicely done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Woo-hoo. Okay, hey, we have another question from the audience, and that would be Diane. And you want me to grab that?
No. I have a question too. I'll let Diane ask. I'll do a follow-up.
We're repositioning cameras and microphones. Please stand by.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this question is for both candidates. What is the purpose of government?
Who do you want to go first?
I want.
Brandy, you want to take this one first?
Well, yeah, Rick had to take the hard one. What is the purpose of government? So, there's probably a lot of philosophical opinions on this. I think you can go different directions depending on where your origin philosophy stems from. In my opinion, the purpose of government is basic public services that we don't trust to the hands of corporations. So things like police, fire, utilities, things that service the public good. My personal use for government is that I see here in Coos County, what we need the most from our government is public safety. I would say our judicial system is probably one of the most valuable institutions in the country. People may disagree with that, but it's one of the things that keeps the strong from just killing the weak to take what they want. So, and our judicial system and our Constitution protects us from unimaginable tyranny. So I would say, I guess a contemporary answer might be the purpose of government is to uphold our constitutional rights here in America.
Okay, let's move it over to Rick. What do you think? Go ahead.
I think the primary function of government in our country as it was set up was to enforce the Constitution. Stand behind the Constitution and make it so we all have all the rights and everything given to us. I mean, I believe their primary function. All the other stuff kind of falls under the Constitution if you stop thinking about it. Public safety, all of that stuff. So.
All righty. Well, concise to the point. So what more can you ask? I mean, no need to draw it out needlessly if not necessary. So Rob, you were saying you had a follow-up question?
Yeah, this is for both of you, of course. We are in a time that is unique at any point in history. For a while, we've had a really bad presidency the last 4 years. Then we had the Trump administration, and then you had the Obama administration, and even going back to Bush. We've had a lot of very lousy people in the office. I mean, let's just face it, good, bad, otherwise, Republican, Democrat, both. Trump was probably the exception because I'm biased, I'm a fan. Trump's in office right now, and I would ask, what are you going to do to reach out to the Department of Interior, which would be the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that would be the Bureau of Land Management, and the Department of Agriculture, which would be the U.S. Department of Forestry, and urge them to do whatever they can to start taking out the timber on the lands, the federal lands that are within our county. We were promised money from the ONC lands. They were promised to us by that management. Through management, we were supposed to get that money. The Wagon Road lands, same thing. We're supposed to get that money, and it was a congressional act. What are you going to do to find out or what can you do to encourage them to get back to managing that land properly?
So Brandy, you want to go first or do you want Rick to go
Yeah,
first?
Sure. So Rob, that's a very, very complicated problem. I think to give a 2-minute answer, the first step would be data collection. So we would need to review all of those agreements. We would have to get with our county council. From there, it sounds like it would be, and I'm kind of guessing here because this is a really complicated task, right? So I think the first step would be reviewing all those agreements down to the letter and knowing exactly what was promised to us, what was violated, and then reaching out federally to get some traction on that. That would be my first step, would be to educate myself to absolutely everything that was involved with it.
Okay.
Well, I'd have to agree with Randy. I would have to educate myself on the agreements, and go from there.
Boy, it took me longer to ask the question.
Yeah, I know. The question was longer than the responses, but the responses were pretty concise. It's like, well, there's a lot of gears involved in this thing with all the agencies that we're talking about. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I think there's going to be a reckoning at some point with some of the local and state government, mostly the state government, with them continuing to say we don't have to follow federal law. So I think if we put our hands up and say, listen, we're a county on the outskirts and we're actually pretty much red, we would like to change these things. Please help us. Might be a way to go about that. I mean, you guys feel like just, I really don't have any salient questions to ask. And if nobody in the audience has any questions, if you have any questions or if you have any comments or whatever. Okay, well, there we go. I knew people get tired of listening to me and I'm pretty short order.
We've got lots of crime. A lot of these criminals are repeaters over and over again, like 14 times get busted. So they keep getting released. Whatever happened to 3 strikes you're out? And then, well, if we pick them in, where are we going to put them? Well, the state's been closing down prisons. They're idle. Why not stick them back in there? And in those closed prisons. Sheriff Arpaio in Arizona had a good idea. He had a camp at the desert where he put all these illegal aliens and other criminals in nowhere. Why can't we do that here in Oregon?
So is it, try to put this into a question that can be answered by our candidates. So what we're shooting for here is, what would you think, Rob?
Is there any other viable source for locking up criminals, such as a camp? I guess.
Well, I mean, at one point we had.
Yeah, it would be a camp outside. We'd have like Shutter Creek, something like that. Shutter Creek would be perfect if we could get that back open again.
Yeah, because Shutter Creek actually used to be a real low. It was like a minimum security prison. It used to be an Air Force radar station at one point. Yeah, well, and we don't have the mental health facilities either. So.
Mental health. That's like going in a social worker instead of the police.
Yeah, true. But some of these people, when I say mental health, it's just like, no, we need the institutions to put them somewhere, not the social counselor saying, oh, golly, I know you feel bad. So we'll be on the street so you can feel bad at other people.
So will the commissioners work with the state and say, hey, open up those prisons? Can you do that?
So that's the question. If you're a commissioner, and will you work with the state to see if we can get the states to reopen the prisons we currently have shuttered? So I'll let Rick go first, and then Brandy, you're on deck.
Yeah, absolutely. I would try to get the state to reopen that local prison. for sure. And, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to let these people just keep walking.
And the
There's gotta be-
Liberals love criminals.
There's got to be consequences for your actions.
As soon as you lose.
And when there's not, I firmly believe that's a big part of the reason we have a lot of repeat criminals. There's no consequence. They get a free ride. Sometimes they spend the night, so they got a dry place to sleep. They get a couple of meals and they get sent on their way the next day. That's not a consequence.
Okay. So shall we, Brandy, are you ready to step up here?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, great question. So I think he was asking what we can do to actually decrease some of this recidivism. So there's a few things that we're talking about now. Right now, the Sheriff's Department is conducting regular warrant sweeps, but we're looking at the opportunity to partner with outside jurisdictions to get them to action on warrants that they might not necessarily extradite for, just so we can get those people out of our county. Maybe people who have moved here from another state and are kind of laying low because the state won't necessarily extradite them, but they do technically have a warrant in that state. We're going to work, we're looking at the opportunity moving forward to be working with other outside municipalities to increase that warrant retrieval rate. Another option that's on the table is bringing rehabilitative services into our jail. So right now, as we all know, our jail is only running at what, a third capacity or something to that effect. So there is an opportunity to build up a rehabilitative program within our jail that may qualify us for some state and federal money. The other component to this, and this is the part that, nobody's going to like to hear, don't shoot the messenger, but we are underpaying into our general fund compared to other counties. And I say this because we need to understand the state is not going to save us. If anything, the state is banking on our failure. So we are not going to get anywhere asking the state to, right now, Drew is fighting with the state trying to put a legal responsibility on counties to provide a specific level of mental health services that we are not equipped to provide, without giving us any money to do it. So Drew is already fighting that on that end. We're going to have to face some realities with funding our own jail. The state has no interest in funding jail. They have no interest in putting criminals behind bars. They've proved that over and over and over again. If we want a fully functioning jail here in Coos County, we're going to have to pay for it. How we choose to pay for it, we can look at the county budget. We can look at how, and I know this feeds into the communication component of it, right? Because if the general public doesn't understand what our budget looks like, it looks like, well, why can't we just pull money from here and put it there? There are legal restrictions on that. And so part of that communication between elected officials and the public needs to be telling the public how this stuff works in regular type of live streams, videos, using social media, things like that, so that people will understand that how everything in our county is funded and why the jail is going to land on us to fund. It can be done, but I think voters don't want more of the same. They don't want more of this catch and release bullcrap. So we're going to need to come in with some behavioral rehabilitation strategies. And I don't just mean drug rehab. I mean actual behavioral rehabilitation, teaching people to get up, the habits of getting up and going to work every day. Because we have at this point in Coos County generational poverty. We have generations of children being born who have never seen a member of their family go to work every day. That's what we're up against. So just funding the jail isn't enough. We need behavioral rehabilitation, and we need work programs. We need a work program in our jail that actually teaches people a different way of earning a living outside of crime. So that combined with refunding our jail is the best chance that we have of getting the results that we want. And again, I reiterate that unfortunately, the state is not coming to save us on this one. We're going to have to figure this out on our own.
Well, yeah, good question. Whatever happened to chain gangs? Can you imagine the amount of
Yeah.
that would get? But
And they
anyway,
are legal, and we can bring back work programs.
okay, I think Ron had a question, or do you want to just go ahead and go to the back of the room? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, my question was just part two of that right there, Brandy. Would you be suggesting you'd want to levy more property tax on the property owners to shoulder that burden, or what are you talking about? How would you raise the money?
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's a really important question. And I just want to be very, very careful with the phrasing of that question. I absolutely do not want to raise property taxes. And in fact, I think that property taxes and the way they're structured today violates the Fifth Amendment takings clause. That being said, the public is going to have to decide how they want to fund crime reduction. That is going to be where that communication and collaboration comes in, because I will not be making that decision for the public. This is going to have to be a decision collectively, how we decide to pay for that.
Okay, and would you like to chime in on that subject, or?
Oh, I don't want to see property taxes go up either. I think that's a piss poor way to fund all this, personally. There is some argument out there that people that aren't property owners are still paying part of the property tax when they're paying their rent. Okay, well, maybe so. But I think the property owners are the ones that shoulder most of that burden.
Yeah, but see, a lot of renters don't realize they pay their tax up there.
Right.
Rent.
So,
And we've voted on jails, property money going on to the jails over and over and over and over again.
I'm in agreement to find another way.
Yeah. Think tank.
Okay, and I think Ron had a question.
Yeah, it's kind of a old news now. After the 2020 election, a lot of us were quite up in arms about the result and how we kind of got our eyes open to the cover-up of how the votes were counted. I guess I can say that. I don't know that this is something that commissioners are even going to be a focus of, but I would like to see, now Rod Taylor was the liaison to the clerk's office, and he was kind of the focus on them to do the right thing in the election office there. So we have been trying to get rid of end vote by mail. You know, well, we're trying to end vote by mail. And there's a petition for that. And there's a lot of different efforts underway to get back to voting at the precinct level. But I don't think that the commissioners are in any position to do anything about this, but I think it's important for everybody to be on the same page as far as pushing towards voting back at the precinct level. Now, the state has mandated this mail-in voting thing, yet the more we keep talking about the problems with voting by mail, I think this is important, because even the president came out today and said again that he wants to see it ended. And I think as commissioners, it's important to have the right outlook and important to know that if we don't have an honest election, we don't have much of anything. So I guess I just have that as a comment, and I would be interested in what either of you have to say about the idea of how we vote, that needs to change.
Yeah, I would be happy to speak to that.
So who'd like to go first? My phone's dead, which means nobody can see me online, which I'm sure everybody's like applauding that one.
Yeah, I can
But
take that question, Marty, no
generalized question
problem.
is, it seemed like, well, the president has said we want to end vote by mail. And so I guess the generalized question would be, do you believe that our election system is safe, secure, and transparent, or are you in agreement with the president? Do we need something better in place? So I'll go with Rick first because we've been beating on Brandy first. So Rick, go.
I think vote by mail is a joke. It's the easiest way to cheat. I want to see it go away. I like the idea of going to the precincts and going into a polling booth, and doing your thing. And I firmly believe votes need to be counted that night and results posted the next day. This dragging on for weeks just gives more opportunity for mysterious ballots to suddenly appear out of nowhere or ballots to get lost. It's been proven more and more every year. Seems like they're finding ballots that were dumped over a creek bank somewhere and things like this. You're finding, and it's not just here in our state, it's all over the country. So best way to do away with that is do away with vote by mail.
Exactly. And Brandy, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. And so I am proud to say that I did cut my political teeth on this exact subject, election integrity. The report that I presented to President Obama's Commission on Election Administration showed that while at the time, this was around 2012, fraud accounted for about 3% of voter integrity issues. It was actually 7% of the electorate was actually locked out of the electorate process by political parties. So ironic enough that I'm here advocating for political parties, because as it would be, if we move back to precinct voting, which we should for all of the reasons that have already been highlighted, we need precinct committee people. So ironically, we need strong political parties to increase voter participation to make that happen, because we need to have the ballots counted at a district level. The people who count those ballots at the district level are your PCPs. So as a commissioner, yes, we kind of can create an environment where we can go back to precinct voting by encouraging people to get involved and participate in a political party where they can count their ballots. And so that's a little bit more cultural than it is procedural power, so to speak. But yes, we can encourage people to get in there, get involved, and open up that process. I will say one of the best things about repealing vote by mail is that mail-in ballots would still be available for the people that need them. So people that are homebound, our service members who are overseas, people who would like to request a ballot be mailed to them, they can still do that. So this isn't locking anyone out of the process, right? So this is still, it's still inclusive. It is still accommodating people that may or may have disabilities or limited mobility, but it is going back to in person, show your voter ID or your voter registration card or your ID. You vote in one day and we have the results the next day. It is a proven secure way to produce elections. And we already know that there's some nefarious stuff going on with the software. And so I do support and vote by mail, if that answers the question in the longest way possible.
Yeah, oddly enough, this is the first time I did not turn on the timer, so you must have like a sixth sense, you know, when the timer's not on, you go, oh, this is my time to like really go long.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have a question from Anonymous online. Oh, my good friend Anonymous. How often do I talk to that guy? Anyway, so from Anonymous online, what role do you believe county commissioners should play in promoting school choice and ensuring taxpayer funds support various educational options, including homeschooling and private schools? And Brandy, you're up.
Sure. So while I personally 100% support school choice, I would hesitate to say that it is a commissioner's role to get involved in that. I come from this perspective of limited government, smaller government, and local control. So where the decision falls on county decision makers, yes, I lean towards school choice. I lean toward more power with the individual whenever possible. However, I do not see myself as a commissioner interfering with the way families organize themselves, with the way families raise their children, with the way schools govern themselves. If it is not at a county level, I do not see myself feeling that it's appropriate for me to involve myself unless I'm invited.
All right. Well, now over to Mr. Coleman.
I support school of choice. I don't think you should have to send your kids to any particular school other than of your choosing. As a commissioner, I'm not sure what you can do about that other than be vocal about supporting the school of choice in your area. Some of that stuff's mandate, you know, the state controls, the feds control. However, in saying I believe in school of choice, if there's money for students, that money needs to follow that student to whatever school they're going to.
Okay, and I don't know, the question was mostly what roles do you think the commissioners should be involved in? I think some of these are actually outside of the purview of what commissioners can do, but it's good to know your opinion on these subjects. So, you know, even though sometimes we're asking questions that actually the commissioner can't fix, it's good to know what your options or your opinions are in these matters. And as a reminder, Rick and Brandy are not running against each other. They're actually both running as commissioners for two different positions. So 2 out of the 3 commissioners are going to be replaced, and we are now looking at 2 of those options. So, you know, this is not a Rick versus Brandy discussion session here. This is we want to hear what they have to say discussion session here. So there will be no fist fighting, there will be no pushing, no shoving, and no chair throwing. And no fighting, and I was so just disappointed because I was like, you know, we got to christen the new facility.
No, something.
I will say, Marty, that even if it was a Brandy versus Rick situation, it would go down the exact same way. You know, I think collaboration produces a better result than conflict any day. Whilst, you know, conflict is sometimes unavoidable, you're not going to see me getting into a dynamic like that. I think really building each other up is the better way to get the best candidate anyway.
Oh, and we actually have a question from the audience.
So I've been really concerned about the voter rolls, working in nonprofits. Our state has it set up to anybody that comes in to get a service of any kind is offered the opportunity to register to vote. There has to be tons of people that are getting ballots mailed to them that don't live at those addresses anymore. I know my own house, I bought it 4 years ago. I still get ballots from the person that owned it before me. So do you guys see a role at the commissioner's level to maybe clean up the voter rolls, and how would that work?
Okay, well, let's look, I think you went second last time, so you want to go first this time. So Rick, take it away. What do you think the county commissioners can do about voter rolls? So yeah, just go with that.
That's another one of those, I'm not sure, I mean, we could check in our own county. Beyond our county, there's not much we can do to make a change there. We just have to be diligent within our own county to make sure we aren't sending, and it's not us really that are sending the ballots out, that's coming from the state. You know, my uncle had been dead for 2 years and he was still getting ballots. And my aunt was turning them in and they were telling her, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Well, what do you mean don't worry about it? Who's going to end up with that ballot and how's it going to get marked? I mean, so those are another one of the problems with voting rolls.
More problem with vote by mail.
Yes.
Okay, Brandy, you want to pick up the ball and run with it from here?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. And I do think that within our own county, that's totally doable. That's something that we could really look into. We have a great county clerk. And so that would be through would it be the county clerk's office, or I think it's the elections clerk. And we have some really, really great folks working in our elections office. So it would be a matter of coordinating with them and getting a cleanup going, figure out exactly how we're going to do that, and go through and get it done. A little bit of manpower involved, but that's totally doable. What I would like to see us do, if we did something like that, let's say if we're going to remove a bunch of names from the voter rolls, let's do it in communication with the community, letting the community know what we're doing, and letting the community know, hey, if you haven't voted in 10 years, you might get kicked off, and so you won't get a ballot. And so it could be paired with a voter registration initiative to say, hey, Coos County residents, log on and update your voter registration because we're cleaning the rolls and we want to make sure that you are registered and still get your ballot. And so I would like to see some kind of hand-in-hand public education opportunity to get people involved paired with this cleanup.
All right, thank you
I'm going
very much.
to chime in on this one.
Okay, I was going to chime in on this one as well.
Wow, I was going to too. Wow.
We have audience responses on this one.
Election
So
integrity. Very
there actually is a current Coos County clerk election happening next year at the same time as the commissioner candidate. So you can file now until March 10th, I believe, to run for county clerk, and that covers both the county clerk's office and the elections office. The elections office is within the county clerk's department. And if more than 2 people are on the ballot, right now there's only 1 person signed up, Julie Brecky, who's the current clerk. But if there's more than 2 people on the ballot, you'll actually go through the primary in May. And if there's 2 or less, it'll be in the general. And one thing you can do, because the mail-in ballots are mandated by state law, you have to, like our county, or actually I don't even know who this is, it's the state of the county, but ballots have to be mailed out. That's state law. But there's nothing that I've seen in the state law that prohibits in-person voting. So if there was somebody in our county who wanted to run for county clerk, or somebody could convince Julie to do this, we could do in-person voting in Coos County. We would, again, have to send out the mail-in ballots, which does not solve the problem of people getting ballots that shouldn't, but we could at least bring back precinct voting, which is something, if you're 30 years old, you've never seen that. And if you've lived in Oregon and you're 30, you don't even know what that is. So that would be cool. So off to Marty to answer.
Marty, you answer you're going to know what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want you to. All right, so let me explain that there is an election committee that the clerk is supposed to have assembled in the elections office. And that committee was disbanded unilaterally by a former clerk back in 2012. I believe was it 2012?
Yeah, that year sounds familiar, but
It
yeah.
does sound familiar.
Coos County used to have an election committee.
And because of people not volunteering, it was the reason they stopped it. We're now demanding that they bring that committee back. So my question, and before, I'll ask it and then let Marty speak, but my question would be, would you work to reenact that committee, because it's under the purview of the commissioners to form that committee and to continue that committee by appointing people on it. And Brecky has very little authority over that committee. And it would be very important to put the right people on there to go back to the way things were when we cleaned the voter rolls and when we had vote by mail. So I will give it to you, Marty.
Okay, yeah, so just to reiterate on that, yes, we used to have election commission, so to speak. And at one point, the election commission was basically in charge of doing a lot of the election works back in the days when we did do precinct level voting. So back then, every precinct would have one or more polling stations. It might be the school, it might be the Grange, it might be, the little place where they have the sewing circle on Highway 101, whatever. It was a place where about less than 1,000 people would show up, and they would have a list of people that were registered to vote in that precinct. And they'd show up, and they'd show your ID, and they would say, "Hey, Marty, how you doing? Okay, you're here. Here's your ballot." You go into a booth, you fill out your ballot, you put it in a box. Next morning, they would count them all, and you would have the results at the end of the day. And not only that, but you were pretty specifically trusting in the fact that the outcome was something that you do believe, because you're talking with your neighbors, you're talking with your local friends and neighbors when you're going to vote. Now, as Chris was saying, yes, by state law, ballots have to be mailed out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that ballots have to be sent back, and that's how we count them. We'll send you a ballot, but you got to show up at your precinct polling station to turn them in. Fill it out anytime you like, but you have to turn it in by election day at a polling station where they can verify your ID or go home. So the whole idea is there are ways we can circumvent this, and we need to get the commissioners to, get on the idea that there is going to be a new election commission, and that election commission I can't remember how much say it has over the county clerk, but the whole point was the elections office, and I'm really big fans of Lark in the elections office. She helps me out as much as she possibly can, and she knows who pays her rent and so forth. So, but there have been times when Lark has helped me out very much, and I've had problems with pretty much every clerk that we've had. And as far as voter rolls go, I can tell you exactly how dirty they are. But anyway, the whole point is, and now let's turn this into a question if we can. So Brandy, would you be on board with getting an election commission put into place so that we can start working our way towards the old way of voting? Yes, we can't circumvent state law and demand that, you have to go pick up your ballot. So we'll mail you a ballot, but maybe we can work on something where it's like, we have precinct level and we have an election commission that has a bunch of people that are working to make that happen. Is that something that you'd be, approve of, or something you can improve on, or, would you like to comment on that? Let's start with that.
Yes, yeah, sure. Okay, stop talking, Marty. Yes is the short answer.
I didn't turn the timer on myself, unfortunately, so there's your problem right there.
So there's going to be, obviously I'm going to have questions about this, right? Is this something that the voters want? If the answer is yes, then I stand behind it. So ultimately, none of this stuff is going to be my decision. This is going to be, the stuff is going to fall to the voters. And so we're going to need mechanisms to ask people if this is what you want to do. Typically, we put things on the ballot. We're a referendum state. And so, or an initiative state, however that works. And so we can do things like that. But basically, I want to ask the voters any chance we can, if this is something they want. If it's something that is overwhelmingly we want to bring back on, second question is there a cost associated with it? If there is a cost associated with it, do the taxpayers want to pay that cost? And how does that cost, where does that money come from? So those would be my two caveats. Yes, I support it. Yes, I think it's a great idea. But ultimately, whether or not we do something like that would come down to whether the voters want it and whether or not the voters will fund it.
All right, thank you. Rick, you're up. You got any comment on that? Outside of the fact that I was blathering, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I think you did fine, Marty. No, I'm in agreement with it. I have no problem with that. I have to agree with Brandy. You're going to have to check with the people of the county to see if they want it.
Right. And to sort of address that issue, for the last couple of elections, I've gone to the Board of Commissioners and asked them to put an advisory ballot measure on the ballots. An advisory ballot measure, by the way, is not something that changes laws or adds taxes. It simply asks the question of every single person that gets a ballot. And my question was, would you like to go back to one day in-person ID mandatory hand-counted elections? That was the question I wanted them to put on the ballot. I wanted them to form it as the commissioners are simply asking this question to get the sentiment of everybody that's a voter in the county. And what happened is I proposed that, and the commissioners initially were kind of okay with the idea. And then the howler monkeys showed up and yelled at the commissioners for 2 days straight for 4 hours a day. We had like 50 or 60 people show up at a commissioners meeting, and all they did was scream lies about, you're against democracy. You don't want transparency. You're trying to steal our vote. One lady got up in the commissioners meeting and said, I'm a frail old woman that can't make it to the voting booth. And I'm going, yeah, with 24 hours notice, you made it to a commissioner meeting at 9:30 in the morning in Coquille. Yeah, thank you very much. But anyway, sorry, don't mean to blather.
They were Brandy was talking about with the cost. Now, people who volunteer, I mean, I could volunteer.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could volunteer when these election sites.
Yeah.
Couldn't we do that?
We could have a lot of people that would be volunteers, and all you'd have to do is take a little bit of training on how to properly run a polling center and how to properly handle ballots. The thing is if you go, there's a form called the SDL 237, which basically tells you exactly how much money the county is paying for the elections as they're being run now. And the last election we had was, do you remember the number?
How much did the election cost?
Yeah, it was like $128,000.
Yeah.
Because, and that was just for, a simple election. Because of their amortizing the cost of all these machines, it's like how much it costs to mail out, because they mail out ballots to every single person. So that means there's
$120,000.
correct
For 1 year.
for one election, not for a year, for one election. And some elections some years we have more than one election. Like this year, we're going to have a May and we're going to have a November. So, when they say it's going to cost too much, I'm going to say compared to what? Anyway. Okay. And people are saying, Martin, you should run for clerk. And I'm like, well, I don't live here full time. So one, bad idea. And two, God, I'd get.
People had those polling centers also. They check the signatures as well.
Yeah.
They show your ID and they check your address, they check your signatures. They checked all that stuff. It was all done, wham, bam, boom, there's your paper, go.
Yeah, exactly. Another question. Couple of questions in the back.
Real quick before we get those, Brandy's got to run it short on time. We told her an hour, so she's being really patient with us. Thank you, Brandy. And I'm sure, anyways, so we're going to do one or two more questions. I think there were two hands up in the back, and then we're going to take a really quick break and go to some announcements. We have some people who wanted to talk about some things. Diane, I think we'll have you go first. And we'll try and wrap this up right around 8, maybe a little after. But
We'll have sodas and water and beer and sandwiches and finger foods. Oh my, because that's what we have the kitchen for.
Two more questions.
Two more
and then
questions, and
We'll
let's
wrap
wrap
up
it up.
the forum and the live stream, and then we'll kind of open up a regular meeting.
primarily my question is for Brandy, since she's running against Commissioner Sweet. If a member of the public showed that they were dissatisfied with their job performance, would you flip them off during the commissioners meeting?
Probably not. I doubt it. I'm never going to say never, because that's when the universe, like, you know, puts you in a bad spot. But I've never done that before. I'm pretty good at being like yelled at. I worked for the Marine Corps for 4 years as a civilian employee. So I don't see myself kind of getting into a dynamic like that with people.
And Rick, would you keep it down to just one finger, or would you use both hands?
I would like to think I could be a little more professional than that in that circumstance. I have been known to raise my voice or slam my hand down on a table when I get a little perturbed. But I think I could be more professional than to treat a citizen whom I'm supposed to be serving with that kind of disrespect. You know, you're coming to those meetings to voice your opinions and try to be heard by the commissioners. And to me, that's the number one job of the commissioner, is to listen to the people in the county and try to make decisions based on their input, not just on your own ideas. You know, I believe public servants are just that. You're there to serve the public. So in order to do that the best way, you've got to listen to them.
In respect.
Yes.
And then as far back in the room, or did you still have your hand up?
We're going.
Yeah, this question is for the both of you. I'd like to know if you would make a commitment to, if either of you were selected to be on the Coos Watershed Council liaison, if you'd be willing to work with them and lobby them and the water master to make amendments to the policies and regulations that would give more control to the private property owners to do what they want with the water on their property.
Okay, Rick, you want to go first?
Yeah, I would be willing to do that. I don't think they should have the control over the water on your property. They do. You know, I live out in a rural area. I live at Saunders Lake. They have well water out there. You know, there's some things going on at the state level here. They're trying to make us pay for our well water. Already paid for it. Well drill. Well, what makes them think they own the water coming out of the ground, let alone the water on the ground? Or in some areas, they think they own the rainwater as soon as it hits the ground. That's not right. Yeah.
And Brandy.
Yeah, so that's a very, very complicated question. The short, easy answer is yes. I support private property rights in all capacities. The real answer is it depends. So there have been situations where property owners have owned hundreds and hundreds of acres, and they have actually diverted natural waterways in a way that downstream negatively affected their neighbors. So for example, I can give you a personal example. We have a well on our property. A neighbor 20 years ago illegally dug a well about 50 yards above us, up the hill from us. Well, him excavating that broke our water vein. And now that water no longer flows underground from his well to ours. It now flows up above, and it actually flooded the home that we had to remodel that we live in now. And so these things, and the property owner previously could have sued him for that. So while yes, I'm always down to advocate for private property owner rights, I would need to see the specifics before I made any kind of commitment to saying, yes, I would do that. It's going to be a case by case basis where we really do look at how the water flows. So, and that might not be the answer that people want to hear, but it's a real life answer. This stuff can get complicated. And like, what types of water use are we talking about? Are we talking about rainwater collection? How much water? Where does the water flow to? And so short answer is yes, I would absolutely help in any way I can to protect private property water rights. On the other hand, I would need to see more details to exactly what I was committing to. And I hope that's a satisfactory answer.
Thank you, Brandy. All righty, I think we can pretty much wrap up the show.
I'm going to ask one more question.
Okay.
I'm open for a quick answer.
And there we go.
So
Let's get.
my question is, final question. What message do you have for the everyday citizen who recognizes that our government is broken, but they're not sure what to do to fix it? And I'll go to Brandy first, and then Rick, and then we'll get a round of applause for our commissioner candidates.
So the question was, what do you tell someone who sees that our political system is broken, but doesn't know what to do about it? Was that the question?
Perfect.
Okay. My first piece of advice is to vote and to educate yourself on who you're voting for. A quick Google search, like literally type someone's name into Google and see what comes up. I have found people's Twitter profiles, local people, totally unhinged. Like, I thought they were a pretty normal person until I saw what they were writing online where they maybe thought that a lot of people wouldn't see it. So just look up people's resumes that are running for office. How often, and you just think to yourself, how often have you had a candidate present their actual resume to you? Because I never have. That was one of the first things I offered up to the voters was, here's my resume, and it's on my website, shameless plug. Here's my resume. Here's how it crosses over with the job duties of commissioner. So I think as a person who sees a problem and doesn't know where to start with learning about the candidates. Start to educate yourself and start to network with like-minded people and kind of offer support for each other, because there's a lot of crazy stuff in the world right now. And sometimes just having another person tell you that you're not crazy and that your mind is going in the right direction is a big help in and of itself. And so I think that's what my grounding advice is: get involved where you can. I join to be a precinct committee person if you are a part of a political party, but political parties are not the only path to political involvement. So just educate yourself about who you're voting for. That, and if you can, run for a position. So those would be my couple of tidbits.
You're getting some applause in the room, and I just want to say, Brandy, you're not crazy and you're on the right path. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Rick,
Thank
you're
you.
up. What's your message for the people?
Well, I've been one of those people that thought our political system was broken and our government broken, however you want to word it, in this country for a long time. And that's why I chose to step up and try to get involved. We're the ones that can change it. You know, I believe in what our forefathers set up in this country. And the government is supposed to be run by us. We tell them what to do. And for a long time now, they've been telling us what to do. So I really think we need to change that. And like I said, it starts at the community levels. You start getting it turned around here, and that's going to spread. and it's going to get back to what it should be.
All right.
And I'd like to thank Brandy Martindale and Rick Coleman for joining us tonight for our candidate forum. And if I remember rightly, didn't you invite Mr. Sweet to show up as well?
Yeah, both everyone, all 4 candidates who have filed were invited. I believe they both had prior engagements. We got in touch with them pretty late. So,
Yeah, well,
we're hoping to do more of these and publicize them much more further in advance. I mean, we couldn't even announce the location because we hadn't signed the lease yet. So there was a lot of,
we didn't get a lot of the paperwork until yesterday, so.
But we're gonna take a. You're welcome. It's the least I can do. We're gonna take a quick break, just a couple minutes to reset, and then we will have Diane back up. But yeah, if everybody wants to wave to Brandy, and thank you, Rick. Thank you, Brandy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up and being a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right.
Well, thank you, Greg, for coming.
Well, thank you guys for coming and listening.